You're pretty good.
Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair is a game that was released for the PlayStation Portable in 2012. Danganronpa 2x2 is a game that is releasing early 2027 and is a remake of Danganronpa 2, which will not only include updated visuals, but also a second brand new scenario named Slayhem, which will reportedly include 20% more content compared to the original story. With us still having give or take 5 months until 2x2 releases, it's as good of a time as ever to theorize about what could happen within Slayhem. We may not have much to go off of, but theorizing like this makes us fun. So without further delay, let's get into it. Now this is actually a remake of a video I made several weeks ago. Why? I honestly didn't like that video very much, I'm gonna be honest. I've dropped some of my old predictions and I created some new ones. I even have a chart of who everything lives and dies each chapter, which I'll get to that later, that's some of the more crazy stuff. For now, let's get some of the safer basic stuff out of the way. First off, in the trailer we can see Hajime and Nagito approach a boathouse. There's also a graphic of them overlooking a docked boat. This is clearly a snippet of the new Slayhem scenario since we never saw this section in the original game. I think it could mean only one thing. It could lead to a very different order of island discovery. In the original scenario, there were mono beasts blocking the bridges to every island. However, if everyone can just take a boat to any of the different islands, it means very different locations for a murder will be open each chapter. But maybe not every island will be open for the boat. Maybe it will only have enough fuel to go to one of them. I mean, it's been made very clear that this new scenario is going to have a lot more content than the original campaign. They're clearly pulling a lot more stops this time around, and it's not too unreasonable to theorize something like this. Second off, Teru receives character development. I think Spike has had long enough to notice how much people hate him. So, if they're not going to kill him in the first chapter, they gotta do something to make him actually likable. Third off, there's going to be a new final chapter twist beyond, oh, it was all simulation. Oh, you're actually all evil. The twist is going to originate from the mystery event that's going to separate the Slayhem scenario from the original scenario. Or something that comes after it. I have no idea what it could be, but it'll be there. Now, with that theory out of the way, let's start theorizing death orders. Now, we have absolutely no clue who could possibly live and die, other than the fact that almost all of the survivors from the original scenario are gonna get got, other than Hajime. And, be honest, repeat survivors would be boring. Is there really any loss if Sonya, Akane, and Kazuichi all die? Fuyuhiko's cool, but he'll die too. Womp womp.
Young man!
For the first murder, Fuyuhiko dies and Kazuichi kills him. It would make sense for a first kill. Fuyuhiko pre-chapter 2 is a scary guy. Kazuichi is just, let's be honest with ourselves, Yasuhiro if he had pink hair. And if he was also useful. They're both cowardly, and like Yasuhiro, Kazuichi would probably attempt to kill given the right circumstances, like if he was with someone he perceived as dangerous. Something that he would definitely fuel toward early game Fuyuhiko, who would love nothing more than to claim and boast about how he could do it, how he could kill somebody. Kazuichi could just be given the right opportunity to commit the murder, and naturally, this would lead to Peko absolutely losing her shit. She'd be uncooperative during the investigation and even attempt to kill someone, since at this point she would have thrown out all of Monokuma's rules and would only care about avenging him. During Kazuichi's execution, she would even rush in to try to kill him herself, leading to her getting severely injured. In the end, she would end up being sent to the hospital, like Fuyuhiko originally was at the end of Trial 3. However, instead of becoming a better person, Peko becomes worse. This will end up culminating into something else later. Hey, so my theory definitely changed a bunch during the making of this video, so I'll be adding another victim onto chapter 1. Now, who else could I possibly kill off in the first chapter? It's Nagito. Sorry. However, Fuyuhiko kills him instead, and then Kazuichi, discovering this, would kill Fuyuhiko. For whatever reason, Peko isn't there, giving her more ammunition to feel guilty over later. Now, I'll warn you, I'll be making another last-minute addition to Case 2, so be warned. for a second murder, I know it's gonna sound insane. Nekomaru dies. Hold your horses, you're gonna want to sit down for this. Sonya kills him. Now I know that sounds crazy, but hear me out for a minute. Nekomaru was left in a condition beyond saving his physical body thanks to a missile. And what have we seen Sonya using? A rocket launcher in Danganronpa 2.5. Now, if 2.5's world was created from Nagito's cognition of the others, or if it was actually based on the real personalities and actions of everybody else, I don't know. But it's a parallel that could tie this murder together. Now, why would Sonya do that? Well, the motive could be anything that pushes Sonya over the edge. For example, what if Monokuma promises an economic collapse for the local area of where everybody lives? For most of the students, this would mean just some little area in Japan. For Sonya, this would mean her kingdom. And while that alone might not faze her, it would pile onto the despair that she experienced watching a classmate die and another get gravely wounded. Watching things fall apart, she might see things as a lost cause anyway. Why specifically target Nekomaru? Maybe because he's the scariest of them all, being incredibly strong and being a coach, a position of authority. That or some other reason. Well, that's the second murder out of the way. Let's see what Chapter 3 has in store. Don't say I didn't warn you. Gundam dies in this one as well. Say that Gundam was with Nekomaru and just happened to be caught in the blast of the missile that was meant for Nekomaru, where he got several limbs blown off. Sonya, who is very well versed in serial killer stuff, would hide Gundam's body parts somewhere where they aren't meant to be found. She would try her best to make sure Nekomaru's body is the only one found, since to her, Gundam's is just extra evidence. But, in the end, Gundam's 4 Dark Divas are the ones that lead everyone to his body. For our third murder, Mikan kills Teru. Now, like I said before, Teru would have received severe character development at this point in the story. So why would Mikan kill him? One word: paranoia. Mikan is a character that is implied to have been scarred by past events. Teru is a character that, while at this point would no longer be a weirdo, Mikan might be afraid of him because of how he used to be. Mikan would have also had major character development leading up to this point and would have more self-respect for herself. In the shadows, her paranoia toward Teru would build up alongside this and would culminate in Case 3, where Mikan goes out of her way to kill him. In Case 4, Hiyoko gets so fed up with Ibuki and Akane's positivity that she kills them both. Things are getting depressing for everyone at this point, and to someone like Hiyoko, it would be incredibly annoying if two people were being very positive, which Ibuki and Akane would be. Also, at some point within the last 2 chapters, Byakuya reveals himself to be the imposter. It's something he never got the opportunity to do in the original scenario, so it'd be cool to see him keep his word in Slayhem. In Case 5, Peko ends up discovering Mahiru's connection to the murder of Yukiko's sister. This ends in, you guessed it, Byakuya killing Mahiru. During the trial, the evidence that shows Mahiru's involvement will obviously point at Peko, and Byakuya, being a little more accusatory than usual, is what will lead everyone to initially believing that it was Peko who did it. However, evidence will come to light that also points to Chiaki and even yourself, Hajime. Byakuya even plants some minor evidence that incriminates himself, which is easily disproven and leads to the group not suspecting him for a while. Eventually, they do figure it out, but before Byakuya is executed, he pulls out a revolver he stole from the Octagon, or procured himself somehow if he doesn't get the chance to go there, and shoots Peko. He is quickly disarmed by Monokuma before meeting his demise. Why would Byakuya do any of this? Simple. He thinks it's useless to delay what he sees as the inevitable. Up to this point, he's the authority figure that's kept everyone under control. However, with every death, with every day stranded on this dreaded island, in the end he uses his authority to lure Mahiru into a situation where he can kill her, so he can lead the trial to a false conclusion and end the suffering for everybody on this island. Chapter 6 is what will be the Revelations trial of sorts. Chiaki and Hajime are the only 2 survivors. I'm counting Chiaki as a person, I don't care. Now, there are only 2 survivors, in case you didn't notice. There's actually a really big prediction behind that. How many survivors are in Danganronpa 1? 6. The original Danganronpa 2? 5. Danganronpa 3 Future Arc? 4. Danganronpa V3? 3. So what's the next logical number? 2. Now I know that sounds a little crazy, but it's a clear pattern throughout the series, and combine that with the new scenario being called Slayhem, and it looking like that, yeah, things aren't ending well. Well, that's my death order. Now, I actually have one other prediction, but you might not like it. There's not going to be a protagonist switch. In the scenario selection screen, Hajime is in the middle. It implies that he has a presence in both scenarios. Of course, we don't know if this is just an animated element, like how a random character appears on Danganronpa 1 and 2 selection screens, but if it is what I think it is, then Hajime's here to stay. But I will acknowledge it as possible. Danganronpa V3 has Kaede displayed as the main character, and they really make it seem like she's there to stay up until the climax of Trial 1. So, given that it could happen, I'll make a separate prediction for it now. Hajime gets a letter to meet up somewhere at a specific time at night. So when he goes to bed, he sets an alarm for the meeting time. When we wake up, we are actually now playing as a different character, but we don't know that. In fact, we don't even get a chance to hear ourselves speak, since Ibuki barges in and tells us a body could be found. Running up to the kitchen freezer, there is blood trailing from under the door. Nekomaru eventually gets the door open, where we find the dead body of Hajime. It's then that we speak for the first time, which is when we find out we're playing as Mahiru. Now I chose Mahiru because she's probably the second most normal and most player insert friendly character there. She's not particularly over the top like the rest of the characters. I also decided to have Hajime become a victim instead of a culprit, like Kaede's case, because that just didn't feel right. Kaede's situation felt like a surprise, because you aren't expecting the person you're playing as to be the culprit, not because the evidence lines up nicely. Hell, half the evidence that ties her to the murder is just text that only sounds bad depending on how you look at it. It's the kind of thing you just forget about otherwise, but that's enough on this topic. You know, I'd call this section the closing argument if I didn't use the closing argument music in the last section, but let's review what I predicted. A different island discovery order thanks to the boat, a new twist, Peko becoming a villain, Byakuya revealing he's the imposter, no protagonist switch, if there is, Hajime is the victim and Mahiru's the protagonist, this death order, and that there will be only 2 survivors. And with that, this video is over. That's roughly it. Thanks for watching. I'll make a video when 2x2 releases reviewing and assessing if my predictions were right. Goodbye.